What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? Dbacks snapped their 5-game losing streak with a win versus the Pittsburgh Pirates. And who should the Dbacks value more between Alek Thomas and Tim Tawa?
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas. I'm a multimedia journalist and a graphic designer, so please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. On today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, we're going to be discussing Dbacks snapping their losing streak with a win versus the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll talk about the battle for center field between Tim Tawa and Alek Thomas. And then we'll wrap up the podcast by discussing a little Justin Martinez in the bullpen and Corbin Burnes staying locked in. Thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners. Sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms. So please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. We try to go live on YouTube Sunday through Thursday after Dbacks games. And so if you want to join the show, follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account. Look up Locked on Diamondbacks with Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle. I tweet before I go live, or hit that little bell notification on YouTube so you also get notified when I go live. But now let's get into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Back here on the Locked on Dbacks podcast, and now let's discuss Dbacks snapping their 5-game losing streak versus the Pittsburgh Pirates. It wasn't a 5-game losing streak specifically versus the Pirates. The Dbacks have lost their last 5 games, and the win tonight snapped that skid. Dbacks offense has struggled with situational hitting. The bullpen has struggled. The starters in the 6th inning. It just has been a lot of bad vibes, bad baseball by the Dbacks recently, but going against a Pirates team entering today at 19-34, or excuse me, I believe the Pirates were 19-35, actually. Let me put a little respect on their standings. D-backs are able to get a feel-good win versus one of the worst teams in the National League. We know the Pirates came into this game, as we discussed, with maybe the worst offense in the NL behind the Rockies, because you look at runs scored, you look at OPS, you look at home runs. I believe the Pirates were dead last in all of them. And as we saw, no offense tonight by the Pirates, as they were shut out by the Arizona Diamondbacks. And Ryan looked fantastic against Pittsburgh. He was dominant. Of course, he's in love with that fastball, and it worked for him. He threw it 63% of the time, and Ryan Nelson was just absolutely elite. 6.2 innings pitch, 4 hits allowed, 0 earned runs, and he was completely locked in all night long. And if you want to get on Torey Lovullo for pulling Ryan Nelson in this game in the 7th inning, where he's only at 74 pitches, I would understand a little bit in that moment, because Ryan Nelson was absolutely cruising and dealing. And we know no lead is safe with this Arizona Diamondbacks pitching staff and bullpen, unfortunately. But Ryan Nelson came out, and the bullpen was able to do just enough to secure a D-backs win, because we saw Scott McGough try to end the game for Arizona. McGough, the what do we call him? McGough, the crime dog. Scott McGough. He's actually been quietly good for the D-backs this season, and this was the first outing he had all year where it's like, oh, the Scott, are we gonna have a classic Scott McGough blow-up outing where he is the reason the D-backs lose? We've seen it so many times in the past. I have Ha-Seong Kim just home runs ingrained in my memory against Scott McGough. And in this one, he tried his best, bases loaded, nobody out. Felt like the D-backs were going to have one of those classic D-backs games where you're up 5-0 going against the Pittsburgh Pirates and just just lose it, sadly. And thankfully that didn't happen because we had Justin Martinez, the savior, come into the ball game, and he was able to twirl his way out of chaos because we know J Mart in his first outing off the injured list blew a save, did not look good, right? So his second outing off the injured list, coming off that blown save, bases loaded, nobody out. I mean, as high of a pressure situation you can have if you're Justin Martinez, so easy. If he came in and just fumbled the bag, I think it would be kind of understanding. But instead, Justin Martinez comes in, strikes out Reynolds, who is like the Pirates' arguably best player. Then Horwitz pops out, and then you get a fielder's choice to Bart. Just a great job by Justin Martinez. And in that first at bat, that strikeout, you saw him set up the fastball. Or was it the split finger right away? I mean, just incredible stuff by J Mart tonight to really save the D-backs out of their big jam. The D-backs pitching staff between Ryan Nelson and Justin Martinez were the reason the D-backs really came through tonight. We'll talk about the offense in a second, but those two pitchers were the main reason. Ryan Nelson has definitely earned himself a spot in the rotation. If I'm the D-backs, I move Erod to the 60-day injured list. I make up some excuse and I say Ryan Nelson is our starter for the rest of the year because in 3 starts for the D-backs, he has a 1.69 ERA. He was the best D-back starter in like the last 15 starts of last season, where he had a 3.2 ERA post All-Star break. Ryan Nelson has been a good D-back starter for a year now. And if you're thinking about this upcoming D-backs offseason with guys like Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen as potential free agents, if I'm the D-backs, I want a rotation next year of Brandon Pfaadt, of course, Corbin Burns not going anywhere, Ryan Nelson. I would want to re-sign Merrill Kelly as well, and then figure out what to do with the combination of that for, whether you want to sign another big-time free agent in the offseason or go and trade for someone or just use that main four as the core of your rotation. I would be fine with that. Have to figure out a way to get off the Erod money because that feels like such a wash of a contract. Need to do something to get off that deal because I still think a rotation of Burns, Kelly, Pfaadt, Ryan Nelson, that's definitely good enough to compete for a playoff spot, playoff spot next year with that rotation. But Zach Gallen looks like he'll leave as a free agent, and Erod, we need to get that money off the books. D-backs offense did come through with runners in scoring position tonight, as we saw Ketel Marte deliver 2 outs, runners in scoring position. Great job by him. Also got some big home runs. Eugenio Suarez had a monster home run in this game. Just a absolutely perfect swing, perfect extension, 109 miles per hour off the bat, 433 feet. Then Josh Naylor had his first home run off a lefty pitcher this season. D-backs offense at home always seems better, and they put 5 runs on the board. Great job by the offense. Great job by Ryan Nelson and Justin Martinez. D-backs look to get a series win against, yes, a lowly Pirates team, but nothing comes easy for Arizona, considering they won the first game against the Dodgers, and it was like, just win one of the next 2 and you have a series win. D-backs, of course, went on to lose the next 2. Let's hope that doesn't happen against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But now we'll discuss the D-backs outfield, Tim Tawa versus Alek Thomas, and a little Corbin Carroll in segment number 2. But first, get the supplies you need from a site that's made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 from over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands. I'm so sorry, Supply House. You'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, and let's talk about little Corbin Carroll, Tim Tawa, Alek Thomas. First, I want to start with a little Corbin Carroll talk because Carroll is someone that needs to get going for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He has been in a prolonged slump now, and again in tonight's game, 0 for 4. He still has the slug 556 even after tonight's game. Still a monster slug, going to be one of the best in the National League. But the rest of his slash line, 260 average, 332 OBP, starting to go in the wrong direction. Feels like he's striking out, chasing at more pitches. Feels like that anything in the upper zone, upper outer zone, he's starting to struggle with again. And in his last few games, if you look at his last, let's say 7 games, entering tonight, Corbin Carroll, 3 for his last 26. So after tonight, you could say he's 3 for his last 30, which would put him about a 100 batting average in his last 8 games. And it's just not good enough. And Carroll is a guy that still has showed the power the last couple weeks. Right, he had that home run not that long ago in extra innings where he thought the Dbacks were going to potentially win. Of course, the bullpen blew it. But for the Dbacks, they need Corbin Carroll to get going once again. And it's funny because you look at this Dbacks lineup, and right now it's the righties that are getting going for the Dbacks. When you look at Lourdes Gurriel the last couple weeks, Eugenio Suarez the last couple weeks, Gabby Moreno, of course, those guys have been hot. Meanwhile, the lefties, Naylor's numbers have slowly come down a little bit. Carroll has been in a slump, and so it's been funny to see this D-backs lineup kind of switch in terms of their ethos of being so lefty heavy in terms of their strength, and now their strength is being more right-handed dominant. And if we could get to a place where the lineup is balanced, this is going to be the best offense in the National League because they're pretty much top 3 in almost every NL offensive category already, and it feels like only half the lineup can perform at a time. Early in the season, like in April, it was the lefties. Now in the month of May, it's the righties. In the next month of June, if you could get both the lefties and righties together, this can be an offense that scores 6 to 7 runs every single ball game. And Corbin Carroll has to be the catalyst to that. He needs to get that bat going again. We need to see him get that confidence going again. We haven't seen him run as much over the last couple weeks. The power's still there, but I would love to just see a couple games where, hey, Corbin Carroll goes 3 for 4 with 2 doubles, a steal, and a single. I would take a couple of those. Give me a couple more games where he just has multi extra base hits, where he's taking extra bases, maybe a triple in the mix as well. I just need to see Corbin Carroll just create more chaos, more havoc on the bases. Feels like right now he's pretty much like home run or a bust when it comes to his contributions to the offense, at least over the last 10 games or so. Not over the course of the whole season, of course, but recently over the last 10 games, it feels very home run dependent for Corbin Carroll. Feels like there's not enough times where he's putting the ball in play. Maybe he's settling, striking out, chasing pitches that he knows aren't his type of pitches. And I just need a little bit more patience from him overall, because we saw what he could do those first 6 weeks of the season where he was just crushing the ball, high contact guy, high average guy, and hasn't been the same over the last 10 games. So if we could get Corbin Carroll's back going once again, that would be tremendous for this D-backs offense. And then speaking to the rest of this D-backs outfield, I want to talk about Tim Tawa versus Alek Thomas and who the D-backs should value more going forward. And it'd be funny if you guys, maybe not funny, I don't know why it'd be funny, but if you guys want to drop some comments down in the YouTube comment section because of who you think you would value more. Because when you think about Alek Thomas versus Tim Tawa, we know Alek Thomas, arguably the best defensive center fielder in the National League, in all of baseball. He's so incredible. And the way he started the season was really important to the D-backs because he came out the gates really hot. You looked at his numbers in the month of April, and it was like, if this continues, this can be a realistic everyday player potentially for the D-backs, a 288 average out the gates in the month of April. But since then, in the month of May, the numbers have absolutely cratered for Thomas. 237 average, 625 OPS in the month of May. And his numbers on the season, he has below a 700 OPS. The average is still at 265. But you go on his StatCast page, and StatCast is kind of telling you the numbers that he's putting up right now should come down. His expected batting average is lower than his normal batting average. His expected slug is lower than his normal slug. The stats are telling you he should have regression to the mean, meaning his numbers are going to come down. They're saying his stats right now are better than what he's actually playing. And if that's true, the D-backs might need to consider a changing of guard in the center field, because we've already seen Tim Tawa start to play more, start to be that platoon to Alek Thomas. But I'm arguing, if it's really coming down to the nitty gritty of playing time and who are the best options, like I'm taking Tim Tawa's offense and what he can do with his defensive versatility over just the straight up defensive, prowess of Alek Thomas in center field, because Tim Tawa, I think he's been a pretty good defensive center fielder so far for the D-backs. And the fact that he can play other defensive positions, even though I don't think he's been great in the infield, the fact that he can play in the infield, I think helps out his case a ton. And then offensively for the D-backs this year, yes, the numbers aren't like jumping off the page, considering he has a 234 average and 745 OPS. It sounds like, why are you making a case for Tim Tawa when his numbers aren't that much better than Thomas? But you can just watch Tawa versus Thomas when they have at bats, when there's runners in scoring position, like we saw tonight with the sacrifice fly from a Tim Tawa. I just trust him so much more in those situations. Feel like there are just so many more times where Tawa is in the middle of like a big inning or the middle of a D-backs comeback. He has more pop in his bat. It just feels like more major league ready. If there's situational hitting, I trust Tim Tawa more as well. I just feel like he's a better overall offensive player. And the fact that he also has the defensive versatility, if it like came down to it and you could only choose one, I'm not saying the D-backs are in that position, but if the D-backs had to only choose one and had to trade one for like relief help or roster help, I would choose Tim Tawa over Alek Thomas. I could see Tim Tawa sticking around baseball with his bat as like a bench contributor, super utility guy, kind of like a Brock Holt type of player. As good as Alek Thomas's glove is defensively, if his bat never improves and he just consistently a 230 hitter, I'm just not sure he's going to stick around long-term in Major League Baseball. I prefer long-term Tim Tawa, probably over Alek Thomas. I don't think I would have said that, a few weeks ago, but as the season continues to progress, we'll see. I think it's a fluid situation, but as the month of May is ending, I think I would choose Tim Tawa over Alek Thomas moving forward. Now we'll discuss if Corbin Burnes can stay locked in against the Pittsburgh Pirates in segment number 3. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. My favorite Wonderful Pistachios I actually have right here. Sorry to the audio listeners only. You're going to have to go to YouTube for this one, because right next to me, I got 3 of my favorite flavors here. And this is what is great about Wonderful Pistachios. Unsalted right here, no shell. Chili roasted, no shell. And then this one is roasted and salted with the shell. The great thing about Wonderful Pistachios is the variety. You could get salted, unsalted, with shell, no shell. Get a little kick to it if you wanted to. No matter what flavor you want, they have a variety and a profile that fits just for you. So please go get yourself some Wonderful Pistachios. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, and now let's discuss a little J Mart, a little Corbin Burns, because recently Tori Lavello discussed how J Mart is uplifting for this D-backs bullpen, and I want to discuss how much of a savior J Mart can be for this D-backs bullpen, because to me, it's all about how the D-backs employ or deploy J Mart, and I think it has to be in that closer role. Now, I'm not saying it can't be fluid from time to time, because I think tonight was actually a perfect time to use J Mart. Yes, that is correct. Tori Lavello, I am agreeing with his bullpen decision, because I always say J Mart has to be the D-backs closer, but there is no other player on the roster, bases loaded, up 5-0 with nobody out. There's no other player on this D-backs roster I would trust in that kind of situation to get us out of a jam unscathed. Now, if you want to get out the jam and still have a 5-2 lead, I would trust a Shelby Miller or Kevin Ginkel or Jalen Beeks in that situation. But if you want to walk away unscathed in that kind of inning, Justin Martinez was the only kind of guy to do that. So I understood to do that in that situation, walk away unscathed, and then give a 5-run lead to whoever. Maybe I don't want Ryan Thompson, but the D-backs were able to walk away from it. So can J-Mart be uplifting, be the savior to this D-backs bullpen? Not by himself, but I do believe once we start having more defined roles with a guy like J-Mart back, if he is named the D-backs closer or just gets in or just is able to be put in those situations where, it's safe situations and J-Mart's coming out to close, the more we see J-Mart in those situations, the more I think the rest of this bullpen is going to be as it starts to figure itself out, as it starts to crystallize itself and clarify itself. J Mart, the 9th inning guy, Shelby, hopefully the 8th inning guy, Ginkel, the 7th inning guy, with Jalen Beeks as your lefty specialist in high leverage moments, then a little Juan Murillo, Kendall Graveman, and Ryan Thompson mixing those middle innings. That's what the D-backs need to do going forward. And we'll see if, J Mart gets that kind of role, because, of course, Tori Lavello has been so hesitant to officially name J Mart the closer, or at least give him those opportunities when it has been safe situations. And again, as long as J Mart gets save opportunities, if he consistently gets save opportunities, I think the rest of the bullpen will figure itself out. And so if you're asking, can J Mart be the D-backs bullpen savior? Yes, depending on how he's deployed. If he just consistently gets thrown out willy-nilly, hey, can you get us one out in the 7th inning? This bullpen will continue to struggle. But if it's more stuff like it is tonight, where it's okay, bases loaded, nobody out, get us out this jam unscathed, or if it's more situations where just only closing type role, then I think it will help figure out and define roles for the rest of the bullpen. And so J Mart can be the savior for this D-backs bullpen. It just depends how he is deployed. Now let's talk about Corbin Burns, because recently he has been so locked in for the D-backs, and he is looking like the pitcher who we needed to have this offseason. He's starting to look like the pitcher who we gave all that money to and is justifying the payday, because so many starts early in the season, the numbers were fine, but I walked away unimpressed. Like, Corbin Burns had so many quality starts between the Brewers start, a start against the Cubs. There were a few starts early in the season where the stats would tell you he looked fine, but the eye test, I don't think he was. And the numbers maybe even back it up a little bit, because through his first 5 starts, even though none of them were really that bad, he only had one start with at least 4 earned runs. Every other start was 3 earned runs or less. He still only had a 4.05 ERA through his first 5 starts. And after his 5th start, I think that's where he really started to lock in. That first one against the New York Mets, where he goes 6 innings, 1 earned run. That was the first start where I walked away. I was like, whoa, okay, we needed a start against the Mets. We needed a big-time start against the Mets, with the D-backs struggling, not being able to win these big games against NL opponents who are going to be battling them all year in the playoff standings. The D-backs needed a big Burns start, and he delivered against the Mets. And then after that, against the Dodgers, same situation. We needed a big Burns start against a NL West foe. 7 innings, no earned runs. Against the Colorado Rockies next, I mean, it's the Rockies. And he handled it. 6 innings, no earned runs, and then 10 strikeouts. Then against the Dodgers again, 7 innings, 3 earned runs. And I think those 3 earned runs are a little misleading. Burns has been so good for the D-backs over his last 4 starts. Against the Pittsburgh Pirates, on paper, should be another start where it should be barbecue chicken for Corbin Burns. This should be another Colorado Rockies as start where you bet the over tomorrow. You go on FanDuel and you take the over on Corbin Burns strikeouts, because this should be a game where Corbin Burns walks away 6 2/3, 1 earned run or less, and 8 or more strikeouts. If he continues to look like the guy he has in his last 4 starts, there is no reason for Burns to go out there tomorrow and not dominate that Pittsburgh Pirates lineup. Again, who are you fearful of on the Pittsburgh Pirates right now? Andrew McCutchen, excuse me, Andrew McCutchen bats number 2 for the Pittsburgh Pirates. You know when he also batted number 2 for the Pittsburgh Pirates? 10 years ago, when he was a star player on the Pirates and then left, played for like 17 other teams, and then returned to the Pittsburgh Pirates, okay? In 2017, Andrew McCutchen left the Pittsburgh Pirates at age 30. He is now back at age 38, and somehow you can actually justify batting him second, because you look at the numbers from McCutchen versus the rest of the Pirates lineup, and it's like, yeah, I guess McCutchen, even at age 38, should probably be batting second on this Pirates team, because they just don't have a lot of guys you're fearful of. Isaiah Falefa, like, he might be their 3rd or 4th best player, right? You like O'Neal Cruz. He has a ton of power. He's got some speed, but Brian Reynolds, he has not been good since those trade rumors. Brian Hayes has not been able to find his footing. It's just not a very inspired lineup overall. And so if you're Corbin Burns, you have to go out there and dominate and deliver a D-backs series win, because it's been a minute since we've had a D-backs series victory. Now that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Deuces.